Hi everyone, this is Rinki. Welcome to another wonderful episode of INCI with Rinki. I love all your support that you have been giving me in INCI with Rinki. We have almost 2,400 plus subscribers. And a few weeks ago, I have been doing one episode, which was the first episode of January 2025. And I talked about different kind of jobs available in the beauty. 14 years ago, when I've started working in the beauty and personal care industry, I did not know how many wonderful jobs it can offer me as I have navigated my career. And I have received so many DMs about like wonderful jobs in beauty. So today in February, I am doing the first ever our video podcast episode. And I have invited one of my friend and long-term colleague, Stephanie, who is the founder of Blush and Bloom Talents. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rinki. How are you?
I'm good. How are you
Yes, I'm
doing?
good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So lovely to have you here. Yes, so lovely. I am so thrilled to have you here. So, today we're going to talk about a little deep dive of how to future-proof your career. So, I am Rinki. If you don't know me, I'm your cosmetic scientist bestie, and every week I demystify the world of beauty and personal care industry. And today we are diving deep into the future of hiring. How can you stand out in 2025 in such a competitive industry? And how you can make AI your secret job search weapon instead of your worst enemy. So, Stephanie, shall we get started?
Yes. Thank you,
Of
Rinki.
course. Perfect. So I'm going to ask you a crystal ball question. So let's kickstart with $1 million question. What's the future hiring of UK is looking like in 2025? Are industries exploring opportunities? Is there any particular new skills that people should be doubling down? Whoever is looking for a new job or looking for a change in 2025.
Yeah.
Over to you.
So there's been lots of changes recently. I think a lot of different trends as well. So the likes of sustainability and clean beauty. I think those that aren't kind of focusing on those trends, they are being left behind. And a lot of the time now, it is a necessity to make sure you're focused in those kinds of areas. So we'll see a lot more demand for R&D type roles with clean beauty and, like I say, sustainability as well. This will also kick out packaging focused roles too. So I've seen a lot of companies recently hiring for more packaging focused roles. So those where they are looking to, like I say, focus on more sustainable packaging or less plastic, for example. And we are also seeing the rise in the demand for tech as well. There's a lot of press lately about the likes of, the Shark Cryo Glow, LED face masks. There's a lot of companies that are looking more on the medical device / tech kind of route. So I think we'll start to see a lot of those roles come out as well in the market, and also regulatory. Regulatory was massive last year, but I think with the ever-changing regulatory landscape, especially in the US and other regions most recently, we will definitely continue to see that in 2025 as well.
And are these roles across all the levels? In few months, there will be a fresh batch of graduates
Yeah.
from all the UK universities who are eager to join our industry. Are these roles that you mentioned are across like different levels of your career? And if they are, what are the different titles people should be looking for? If you can like give us some details.
Yeah, so I think with the more senior roles in a business, there is generally less of those more head of / managers. There is more assistants, mid to senior kind of level roles. So I would say the bulk of the roles at the minute are more the junior to mid kind of level. Seniors do come up less often because there is less of those types of people within businesses. So I'd say it is predominantly around the junior / mid kind of level that I'm seeing the demand at the moment.
And between like you work with so many different brands, and if
Mhm.
you are probably working for like almost close to a decade, why don't you tell me a little bit about of like what make you kickstart in the world of beauty talent recruitment?
Yeah. So I've always loved the beauty industry. From a young age, I've always loved beauty and hair and makeup and nails and everything like that. I used to have a like a mannequin doll that I used to like style her hair every night, and I used to put loads of makeup on my face and then wipe it off and then do it all again. So I've always loved the beauty industry, especially skincare. Skincare is my favorite at the minute. And I got a job in a recruitment firm. God, we're going back some years now, but I got a job in a recruitment firm doing their social media and their marketing and their admin and things. And I was just kind of helping them with their social media kind of stuff. And then I took on more of a recruitment role, and I loved it. I loved helping people. I loved getting them into their dream jobs. I loved kind of making that match between the candidate and the client, and it was always a very rewarding kind of role. So I was there for a couple of years, and then I got a job in a scientific recruitment agency specifically, and I was focused on the cosmetics and personal care industry there, and I just absolutely loved it, working with all the different brands and the manufacturers and being able to actually see where a product is made and how it's made and what actually goes into every part of product development. So it kind of spiraled from there really, and now I've got about 8 or 9 years experience solely in the cosmetics
Wow.
industry. And like I say, it's an area that I love. Like, I just love everything about the industry and the community that we have as well. So that's kind of where it started, and it kind of spiraled from there really.
Oh, that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, if I tell about myself, it's like I started like 14 years ago, but like I worked with like
Mm-hmm.
really big conglomerates as well as like small founder-led brand. And it is like the challenges and the pros and cons are both side, but I think it's equally
Mm-hmm.
rewarding. I think you like
Oh yeah.
learn as you grow. And honestly, when I started my career, I did not know how wide the industry is and like how many different
Oh
roles
yeah.
you can have it like in the industry. And I think it's like it is like the idea of this podcast is to open it up to the wider amount of people so that understands how many
Mm-hmm.
jobs are possible, how to navigate the challenges. So I'm going to ask you another
Yeah.
very important question, and something I probably have learned in a very hard way. So any person who is seeking a job right now, what should be they focusing
Mm-hmm.
on? Technical skill or soft skills? What's the secret sauce?
So I think this is a difficult question because I think they're both as equally important as the other. So I think the technical skills is what will get you through the door, but the soft skills is what would set you apart from someone else, or you're kind of somebody else that's interviewing for that role. So I think it's really important to have the blend of the two, because the soft skills is your kind of more personality and you as an actual person, whereas like I said, the technical skills is what would probably get you through the door in the first place. So I think they are, it's a difficult question. I think they're both equally as important, but the soft skills would actually get you through the door and kind of set you apart, really.
So they are like apples and oranges, and you have to be a fruit salad to get past that door.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good
Well,
way of putting it.
so let's switch the gear a bit. So let's be honest, like our industry, beauty industry is competitive, and in
Hmm.
2025 it's more than competitive ever. So someone
Oh
who
gosh,
is
yeah.
like applying to let's say a Fortune 500 or a FTC 100 brand, which is a big brand which actually has a much more structured hiring process, how do they
Hmm.
really stand out? What will be your suggestion?
So I think with the larger businesses like that, it can be quite difficult to get through to the talent teams because they have like a specific division that focuses solely on recruitment and talent. And if they've got so many applications coming in all the time, it can be really hard to kind of get your name in there and kind of set yourself apart from the rest. So one thing that I would always advise is, I mean, this goes across the board really, whether it's a large organization or small, is to try and network and introduce yourself to people, build those kind of relationships. So whether you connect with them on LinkedIn, or you send them an email on LinkedIn, or if you go to like a careers fair and you can be in front of them, that's what will set you apart. These people have, hundreds of emails every day from candidates that want to work there. So it is difficult to differentiate yourself from the rest. So I'd say try and network where you can, go to careers fairs. Like I say, try and connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a message. But also as well, if you are doing that, make sure you are focusing on your personal brand. So Rinki, you're really good at this, your personal brand on LinkedIn. Make sure that you are posting regularly, your picture is up to date, your experience is up to date, and make sure that you are kind of really focusing on your personal brand and standing out amongst the rest on LinkedIn and other platforms as well.
I
Another thing,
completely
sorry,
agree.
just to mention, another thing I just thought about is also if you have a portfolio, and again, like you've done in the past, Rinky, a portfolio of the different products that you've worked on or the projects, that kind of, it helps to add that visual to your CV. So if you have a CV and a portfolio that accompanies that, that can really help to kind of set you apart and demonstrates exactly what you've worked on and what you've done.
I completely agree. Yes, I do believe in like doing a portfolio because in my career, I have navigated to several jobs and I have
Mm-hmm.
changed continent. I've started in India, then like in US and now in UK. I have literally worked in like three continents. And I think one thing that have constantly taken me to the next step easy is through the connections. I have built connections. I had UK connections even before I have moved here
Mm-hmm.
purely through LinkedIn. I personally feel LinkedIn is an amazing tool. It's a power of voice. You can actually present yourself better and have a much more personal connection. One thing I personally have always done, and this is something I've learned over the careers, is like whenever I am applying for the job, I do not have a standard CV that I apply. I
Mm-hmm.
customize my CV every time I apply to the job because in your career, there will be A to Z, several different things you do, not necessarily all the
Mm-hmm.
activities and all the skills or all the projects are relevant to that specific role because the hiring managers, they're flooded with so many of application and they're only
Mm-hmm.
trying to fit a candidate as a part of the puzzle. If you fit to the puzzle, you land the interview quicker. So I think it's very important
Mm-hmm.
to customize the CV to the job specification. You may then have other things, not necessarily they are relevant to that particular job. And especially for people with a little more career experience, there are so many things you have done in your career. So it's better to streamline to the job specific need. And I remember somebody told me, put your CV in a bottle like a beauty brand, be creative. And maybe it's a bold move, maybe it's risky, maybe it's genius, because there are several times I have felt, oh, should I have said that? And like I missed out on like not telling
Mm-hmm.
something. But I think majority of the time it has helped me over the career. So I think customization works rather than having one standard
Yeah,
CV and
definitely.
like applying through like hundreds of button if you are like in desperate need of a job or if you're like trying to change up a game. So, and I personally feel for a job, for me to get a job, there are two more things which is very important. One is earning and one is learning. If like it's if
Mm-hmm.
neither of the buttons are working, it's time for me to change the job. What's your take on that?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I think what you've mentioned there about having different CVs for different kind of roles is really, really important as well, because I think you're right. It's not a one size fits all. And if candidates have the same CV for each kind of job, sometimes it can be a little bit less kind of tailored to that specific role and what the hiring manager is looking for. But yes, that's a really good point as well about the, if I'm not kind of learning, then you have to have that balance of constantly challenging yourself and also as well learning new things and developing yourself constantly throughout your career. So definitely a good tip.
Perfect. And I'm going to ask a question that might not be relevant to the people who are passing out now, but it is very important when I was
Mm-hmm.
starting my career. Do you think internships are still a very big deal?
Yes, 100%. I always advise candidates, if you can, if you get given the opportunity, definitely take a placement year or an internship. These are just so invaluable when it comes to applying for jobs after graduation because you've already got that real world experience. You've already worked within a company and you understand the different ways of working and you've gained that real world valuable experience. It can definitely help you to kind of set yourself apart from other graduates in the industry as well. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, there's loads of different areas in the cosmetic science industry, and it's hard to know which path you want to take. So having a placement year can actually help you to identify what it is that you actually want to do, because there's so many different areas, like you say. So it can really help you to understand which is your favorite. You know, you might think you like a role in R&D, but then you have a placement year and you think, that wasn't for me. I don't want to be in the lab. So actually having that experience helps you to understand what it is that you like and what you don't like. So I would definitely advise placement years and internships, 100%.
And if anyone who is starting a job this year as a graduate, this podcast is to help them. It's like if they do not know how to approach to a company or like what are the different websites they can go, do you have any suggestions?
So a lot of them are advertised on LinkedIn. A lot of internships. There's quite a few that have come out over the past couple of months, I'd say as well. A lot of the more larger organisations, so like GSK, for example, they are now advertising their placement years ready for kind of July start. So LinkedIn is amazing. Also, Indeed as well. A lot of companies generally tend to advertise internships and placements directly rather than use agencies because they get such a vast kind of interest anyway. And I think also course leaders within the university, they are generally in touch with the larger organisations that are kind of looking for placement years and internships. So I'd definitely say to advise people to kind of contact their course leaders directly in case they have communications from the more larger organisations.
Perfect. I think people who are looking for jobs, please refer to Stephanie's advice. It's definitely a gold mine for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
now, finally, I would ask a very important question, which definitely is very relevant in 2025. ChatGPT, a friend or a foe? What's your take?
So I think ChatGPT can be really, really useful. I would make sure though, if you are using ChatGPT, just to make sure that you don't let it take away from your personality, because that can be what sets you apart. Obviously, we mentioned earlier on the technical skills and the soft skills, that kind of thing. If you are just using ChatGPT to kind of write your full cover letter or even an email to accompany the cover letter, it can take away that personal approach. And I would say to you can use it to kind of help you in things and guide you, but don't use it as the be all and end all. I had a candidate literally this morning actually, where she kind of sent her CV and a cover letter, and the body of the email was ChatGPT kind of written, I could tell.
Oh my God.
And it had the wrong recruitment agency, so it wasn't Bush and Bloom, and also the wrong company for the role that she was looking to apply for. And that's the thing, think it can be, you can think, oh yeah, it's perfect, ChatGPT's wrote it, but it's not, and it should be used as a tool to assist, but not be the kind of like be all and end all. Obviously, we talked about building a personal brand, so it's important to make sure that this still shines through, and use it to kind of help you, but not be the final kind of piece, I would say.
I absolutely agree. And I think ChatGPT should be a helper, not your autopilot.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like if you're applying for the role, write your content yourself, like write
Hmm.
your content. If you want to make it much more engaging, if you want a certain particular tone, if you want it like, okay, I want a much more data driven approach, but I don't know how to articulate better, definitely take
Hmm.
a help to make a modification of your content because your
Yeah.
content is your experience, your skills, your knowledge, and GPT can never write it. So you are the best
Exactly.
version of you to express it. Take its help to make it better, to make the
Yeah.
tone sounds
Hmm.
better. If you want a warm tone and polite tone, you do not know the best verbs for it. Take its help. Do not let it write you because you are who makes it set apart from other
Yes.
candidates.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be a really, really useful tool. I think when it's used correctly and not to, like you say, kind of like um the autopilot and the absolute like be all and end all of the whole kind of messaging that you're trying to get across.
And I think what I have seen in my career, it's like when you're writing that, like, so first of all, when I started my career, we didn't have the world of GPT, so we had to write it
Hmm.
ourselves. But a lot of the times when I was writing that cover letter, that kind of make me think of like, do I really want the role? A, or
Mm.
do I really have the skills to deliver the role, and a lot of yes or no questions. And even if you land that interview, I think a lot of the thinking process of whether you're a suitable candidate or what are the factors that you actually need to work on if you are asked an interview comes to your mind when you're writing that yourself. It's just
Hmm.
kind of like triggers your brain towards it, I would say. At least for me,
Yeah.
it has. So I have like answered a lot of questions, and like during writing that cover letter, I have like stopped writing. It's like, actually, you know what, this is not, probably I am not the best candidate for it, or I have a less chance of getting it, or maybe I am really a good candidate, and like that's why my application will be so strong and I can give my best effort. A lot of the thought
Yeah.
process coming and that process of writing, that's what I have like seen.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
what are the different like as a recruiter, like what are your tips on, like a lot of companies I have heard now use ATS software to like scan
Yeah.
CVs, especially for junior level roles where there are like mass of applications. So what are the tricks they should avoid in their CV, or in a broader questions in 2025, like if somebody needs like a glow up graduate CV, what are the main points, what they should put attention, and how they can make their CV stand out from the crowd?
Hmm. Yeah, so I would always advise with CVs is to try not to overcomplicate it too much. So a lot of candidates can be, fixated on making it really like putting pictures in there and like making it a little bit too busy, and it can take away from the original messaging. So I would always advise to kind of keep it simple. Make sure that you use bullet points to kind of demonstrate what you've done in the past rather than paragraphs and essays, because it can be difficult to read and easily digest the information. If you have any key achievements, then I would always say to use those on your CV, not just the kind of key responsibilities of previous roles or what you've done in university and things. Any key achievements that you have is really going to set you apart from the rest. And also utilizing those kind of key words as well. Like you say, a lot of companies now use applicant tracking systems. A lot of people, recruiters, also kind of just use their own general, like scrolling through CVs and having a look for keywords and things like that, and using keyword Boolean searches. So I would always say to utilize keywords, whether that be using keywords of different products that you've worked on before. If in university you were formulating lipstick, shampoos, moisturizers, cleansers, use those keywords. So shampoos, moisturizers, cleansers in your CV, and then you are more likely to be kind of pulled up on these ATS systems or on these keyword searches. And also, if they aren't using either of those, the recruiters or the employers can see exactly what kinds of products that you've worked on. If you've done some specific testing, so whether it be pH testing, stability testing, if you use those keywords, you can be easily kind of pulled up on the recruiter's kind of platform, whichever they decide to use. Also, as well, I wouldn't be so kind of fixated on the one-page CV rule, because sometimes you can really cut out a lot of really important information. And I think in today's age, we're absolutely fine to use 2 to 3 pages maximum. If you have the relevant experience, if you've got experience from, years ago when you worked in a cafe as an assistant in there, and it's not relevant to the role you're applying for, I would potentially take that off. But if it is relevant, put it in there. You don't have to chop it right down, because you might be missing some really crucial key information, is what I'd say.
Perfect. Clean, clear, compelling. We definitely got the message.
Yeah.
One more question as we are talking about resume. What's your take on video resume? Yay or a nay?
So I would say I don't actually get them quite a lot nowadays. I have heard of them before in trying to get kind of through to people. And I think it's good in like kind of quite creative roles, but sometimes I think you need to be careful that you could end up in someone's like spam filters. A lot of these organizations have like big IT teams and stuff like that where they put specific filters on their emails. And you need to be careful that if you send an email or something with a link, it doesn't go through to spam. So I think it maybe could be as a secondary, send your CV first and like a cover letter and an email. And if you can't get through, then follow up with a video resume, like you say. But I think it should maybe be like a secondary to accompany the actual CV documentation first of all.
Perfect. Absolutely clear. And before we wrap up today, let's hit candidates with some tough love. what are the top three mistakes that they absolutely must avoid when applying for job this year? What's your top
Yeah.
three?
So I would say make sure that you attach your CV rather than a different document. I've had it before where candidates have attached like a phone bill to the email
Oh my
rather than their
God.
actual CV. Yeah. So make sure that it's your CV, your latest version of your CV, and it's applicable to that job specifically. First of all, I know it sounds so basic, but it's one that people can get wrong. And also as well, another mistake is candidates that don't prepare properly for interviews. So if you are working with a recruiter, they should definitely prepare you before your interview. But if not, there is basic kind of like interview preparation tips that you can find online, or even use ChatGPT. It's great for kind of interview preparation and that kind of thing. But make sure that you thoroughly research the company that you are interviewing with, find out about them, and also the role and exactly what they are looking for. So make sure that you are properly prepared for the interview. Another mistake as well, I think I would like to mention is candidates that kind of don't showcase their achievements on their CV. So they might just kind of list what they've like studied or what they've kind of done previously. But if you have any key achievements, worked on a specific formulation or a specific project, your dissertation, anything like that, if you can showcase that achievement, like I say, that would really kind of help to set you apart from the rest when applying for jobs in this industry.
Perfect. I think those are wonderful and like amazing tips. And I believe it
Thank
will
you.
help many of them. So thank you again, Stephanie, and thank you to all the listeners. It's a wrap for today. So, like Stephanie, why don't you leave a message for all the people who are looking for jobs, who might need your guidance further? Like, why don't you share
Mhm.
your contact? And I would also attach them in the YouTube description.
Yeah, if you get in touch on LinkedIn, I'm quite active on there. So if you get in touch on LinkedIn, if anyone has any questions, or if you'd like me to look over your CV or cover letter, or if you need some kind of advice and guidance on kind of specific, which kind of avenues to go down and things, then obviously I'm always here to have a chat. So feel free to get in touch.
Perfect. Well, with that being said, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you again, Stephanie. Thank you to all my
Thank you, Rinki.
listeners. I hope this episode is helpful to all of you. If you want to know more about the jobs in our industry, the beautiful beauty and personal care industry, I have a separate episode that I would keep the link in the description. Feel free to listen to it. Hope you like this episode. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Leave a review. And if this helped you, please share this episode for anybody who is job hunting this year. Until next time, keep hustling, keep learning, and we will catch you in the next episode. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.